Hi everyone, I'm Kate Kennedy and I'm here with day 53 of 100 Days of Kane, PA. And as you know, hunting is a big part of who we are here in Kane. So today we're going to talk with Taylor Holt about her experiences hunting. She's been involved from as early as she can remember, not just in hunting, but in competitions as well. And so I think you'll be very interested to learn the stories of hunting through Taylor. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you around. We're going to come on in. Hello, Taylor.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Zeke. Say hi to Zeke.
Hi.
How are you today?
Good. How about you?
Good. Hey, thanks so much for having us here today. We're so excited to hear your stories about hunting, and you've been involved for a really long time, so you have a lot of stories to tell.
Oh, yeah.
But first, let's start. You were born and raised in Kane.
Yep, I was born and raised in Kane. I grew up here on School Street, and I graduated from Kane High School in 2015. I went on and went to Penn State Du Bois and graduated with a 2-year wildlife technologies degree there in 2017. And then I actually added another 2 years on to do wildlife and fishery science bachelor's degree, and then I also added a minor in forestry, and I'll actually graduate in December.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. That's coming right on up.
Oh, yeah, it's coming quick.
And so it sounds like the outdoors and being outside and nature and hunting and that sport has been part of your life for a long time and something you want to continue in.
Oh, definitely.
So let's go ahead and get started with, how did you get involved with hunting?
So my family's always been into hunting. So my dad, my uncles, everybody always hunted when I was younger. But when I was younger, they actually didn't have the mentored youth program like they do now, where an adult can give their tag to anyone under 12 that actually has a hunting license, and can go out and actually hunt a deer and use their tag for it, or you buy a mentored youth tag. So back when I was younger, they didn't have that. So I just went out with my dad and watched him shoot things, watched him hunt, and watched him take other people out into the woods. But when I turned 12, I actually went out, in the first winter I went out. I actually got a doe with my dad's rifle. And then the following spring went out and got a turkey with my dad's 12 gauge. So he's always been there to get me into hunting. When I was probably about 12 or 13, I actually started shooting competition archery, and doing 3D shoots around Kane, St. Mary's, Kersey. So when I started down there, I was practicing every day, got into it, and the following fall I actually went out and got my first buck with a bow. I got a 5-point, and so this is this guy.
Oh, this is your very first one with the bow and arrow.
Yep, that's my very first one with a bow and arrow.
Where were you practicing, and where were you doing the skill building that you did for archery?
So there used to be a bow shop down at the end of Flickerwood, and so I worked there for a couple years. It was actually sponsored by them and sponsored by Elite Archery. So every year I got a new bow and got to try out their new equipment and all that kind of stuff. So I always shot back behind the shop, practiced there, worked there, helped other people if they came in and brought their bows in and was broke or needed a new string, that kind of stuff. So every single day I was practicing at least 2 or 3 hours a day.
Wow, and I would imagine that would take a lot of practice.
Oh, yeah. Just to get comfortable, and whenever you're bow hunting, it's a lot different than hunting with a gun, because you have to be comfortable with the equipment, have to be comfortable judging distances. When a deer shows up, he's less than 50 yards. So whenever he shows up, you have to be comfortable judging distance. You can't pull out your rangefinder and move too much to pull up your rangefinder and judge, oh, he's 25 yards. You just have to instinctively know, oh, that deer looks like he's 25 yards, or he's 23 yards, or I should hold this pin there, that kind of thing, and judge for angles and distances.
And so it sounds like it's something you really enjoy. Did you say that you competed with bow and arrow?
I did. I actually shot all year round, so I shot in the summertime and the springtime when it was nice out and I could get outside. But there's actually a place up in Jamestown that has an indoor archery range that has 3D shoots with foam targets. So I shot in the wintertime, and that's actually where the qualifiers for world championships were. They rotated around, so every 2 years it switches from Ellicottville up in Holiday Valley, where you ride the ski lifts up the mountain and then shoot your way down. They have targets. Oh. And so I started out shooting youth class and moved up into the women's class whenever I got older. But they switch it from Ellicottville down to Seven Springs down in Pittsburgh. So I shot at World Championships about 5 or 6 years. The highest I ended up getting was in the women's class. I actually got in the top 10, probably about 8th or 9th place.
Wow, that's a big deal. That takes a lot of practice. And
it was lots and lots of hours of practice, that's for sure.
Okay, so we saw your first buck that you shot with your bow and arrow. Have you shot other animals with bow and arrow?
I have. I have actually shot a turkey with a bow, and so that's this guy over here.
And is this the first one that you shot?
No, I've actually gotten 2 other ones before that.
Oh, look how big. Oh my gosh.
So this guy was actually this guy's probably actually my favorite hunt ever. So I shot him with a bow, and my dad actually had got a turkey the Saturday before, and so whenever he sent me the picture and said he got one, I actually sent him a picture and called him and told him, don't touch the turkey, don't just leave it on the porch, I'll skin it and gut it whenever I get home. And so I actually took it out and skinned it and turned it inside out and salted it. And I was using a decoy because with hunting with a bow, you kind of have something to draw the turkeys into. So I ended up turning it inside out, salting it, and turkey feathers are kind of shiny like that. And so the foam targets, or the foam decoys that they have, are kind of flat colored. So whenever I skinned out my dad's turkey from the Saturday before and took it out on Monday and put it over top of the decoy, it kind of shimmered in the light a little bit more. So I was actually getting ready to leave to go to school and hadn't heard anything all morning. As soon as I got all my stuff out of the blind and was getting ready to leave, I heard a turkey a couple hills over. So called to it again, and it was closer, so I figured I'd get back in the blind and try it. It was like school. So by the time I actually sat back down, got all put back together again, I actually looked up and he was 75 yards up in the field. And so I called to him really light, and he actually saw the turkey with the feathers on it, and he came to about 8 yards, and I ended up smoking him with my bow, and that was the first turkey that I'd ever got with my bow.
How exciting. Oh my gosh. And that's interesting. So you would get up before school and hunt?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so school started at 8. We had to, well, I guess classes started at 8:10. We had to be there by 8-ish. So it probably, in spring, probably gets light around 5:30 or so. So I'd get up every morning around 4:30 and go out before school and then try and be back by 8.
Wow, you really love to hunt.
Oh yeah.
What do you like about it, do you think?
I think it's the challenge that I like about it the most. And the time you have to put in. Like, it's really rewarding to go from putting hundreds of hours into scouting a deer, putting up trail cameras, putting up tree stands, all that kind of stuff, to actually reap the rewards of it whenever a deer finally does come and walk past. Mm-hmm. And you know that, oh, I followed that deer, I know that one, or know the area enough to know where it's coming from and know what time it should be here, that kind of stuff. So it's really rewarding at the end of the season when you can finally reap the rewards and bring it home and actually put it on the table and eat it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and so that's what you guys do. You utilize the meat that
mm-hmm.
you shoot.
Oh yeah, we've never actually bought store-bought hamburger, so everything that we've eaten, from spaghetti to tacos, anything you make with normal hamburger, has actually been venison burger, and you really can't tell the difference, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So, because you're not the only hunter in your family.
No, so there's 5 of us, and then 4 of us actually hunt, so my dad and I, and then my younger sister and my little brother all hunt. So there's 4 of us that end up getting a deer at the end of the season most of the time.
And that's the max that your freezer will hold.
Yep,
huh?
So each one of us is limited to about 1 deer a year, so we'll end up with 4, and that'll feed us for about a year.
That's amazing. I love that. And I'm sure that there's a million great recipes. Who does the cooking?
My dad actually does. My dad's the cook in the family. So like I said, he cooks anything from tacos, lasagna, spaghetti, hamburgers, anything, like I said, that you can make with normal hamburger, you can substitute venison in for, use deer steaks or that kind of stuff.
So if people want a venison recipe, they can contact your dad.
Oh yeah.
All right, so that is a great turkey story. What about the biggest deer that you've ever gotten?
So the biggest deer I got, I actually set up a stand and got an 8-point out of the same stand the year before. It was over this way, about 75 yards, and I was actually pretty bummed out the day that I got my biggest deer, because it was pretty chilly and rainy the morning. So next thing you know, I hear my sister back behind me in the hill shoot, and she called over the radio and said, "Hey, I got one." And I called back and said, "Hey, do you need some help?" I just wanted to get up, and I was over it already. My dad called back, and he said, "No, hang out in your stand for a while. Like, it was good last year. Like, it should be all right, and it could get a moving if I get down and go help her." So I ended up sitting there, and not 5 minutes later did I see something move, and here comes this giant 12-point walking up over the hill. And here my uncle actually got it on trail camera the week before. But it came up over the hill on the opposite side from where my other buck had come last year. And so he ended up coming up over the hill, and I ended up shooting him, and went to go put another shell in my gun and looked down, and it was jammed. And when I just so happened to look up, he had ended up getting up again and was hobbling. So I put another one in him, and then he was down. So I called over the radio, still shaking really bad. I was like, Dad, I'm going to need your help. So he went over and helped Sydney and ended up coming back, and I was shaking so bad I couldn't even stand up. My legs wouldn't work. So when I finally got there, I was excited enough that I could actually stand up out of the stand and go look at him. So it was really cool to experience it with my dad and to go up to him and walk up to this.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
So this is my biggest deer by far.
Wow.
And
oh,
so
wow.
This
look.
is actually not really typical. They call that palmated. And so he's got a bunch of little, they call these stickers.
Uh-huh. Wow. That's a beautiful deer rack. So what do you do? How do you get this deer or the turkeys or the animals that you hunt? How do you get them out of the woods?
So it's a little bit different from turkey to deer, and everybody does deer different. But turkeys, we actually shoot them out in the woods and then take them back to the truck and then bring them home and gut them out and take the breasts and all that kind of meat. And I actually strip it up and throw it in like Italian dressing and whatever spices you can find in the cupboard and let it actually marinate for a while. And then throw it on the grill. And turkeys are actually gone within 24 hours most of the time whenever we shoot them, because they're really good. But deer, like I said, everybody does it different. But the way we do it is whenever we shoot it, they call it field dressing. So we take all the guts and the lungs and everything like that out there so it doesn't spoil the meat. And take it all out, and we actually take our deer over to Dietrich's. So Scott Nelson and Rick Nelson and all those guys out there will end up processing it. And normally deer around here about 150 pounds, so you get anywhere from 40 to 50 pounds of meat out of a deer. And so if there's 4 of us hunting, we get quite a bit of meat to feed us for the whole year. So that's normally what we do whenever we get one. We try and use as much of it as we can.
I think that's wonderful. Yep, that's the way it should be. And then I see over here you have a bear. Can you tell us the story of this?
This guy I actually got, so I got my first buck with a bow, and then in the next month, so archery season's from like October to the middle of November.
And this is in Pennsylvania?
Yep, this one's in Pennsylvania. And then bear season's about week before Thanksgiving. So we'd actually never hunted bear before. So I just had an inkling that I was like, I just want to try it. So I went out, and Saturday I actually didn't get anything, and there's that school thing again. I skipped school on Monday to go out with my dad. So he was working, and he actually dropped me off in a spot by myself. And so we were walking around. I hadn't seen anything. So he came back to actually come and get me from the stand. And we were walking back, and I just so happened to look up, and there was 3 bears standing on the side of the hill. So he always makes fun of me because I can't stand shooting sticks. So I was borrowing my little brother's at the time. And so I had the gun on the shooting stick, and when I went to go shoot, the shooting stick dropped.
Oh, no.
And so I missed, and then I pulled the shooting stick back up and shot again, and it dropped. So I whipped the shooting stick down through the jingweeds, and my dad always makes fun of me. So I shot it offhand and actually killed it with that 3rd shot. But she was actually a female. She was about 130 pounds.
Oh, my gosh, look. Oh, wow.
So that was actually the same year that I got this buck with a bow, and then actually the turkey with a bow. So they call that a triple crown. Whenever you get a deer, a bear, and a turkey all within the same license year, like they sell licenses in June, so the next June is when the license season is. So if you get a bear, a deer, and a turkey all in the same license season, they call it a triple crown. So I ended up actually getting all 3 of those when I was about 13.
Wow, what an accomplishment. And no wonder that's probably something that keeps you going. Once you get something like that, you're like, ooh, I want to do that again. Mm-hmm. And then you also had hunted in Florida too, right?
Yeah, it was actually, I believe, the winter after that. So Florida seasons are different. A lot of different states have different seasons and times depending on what their Fish and Game Commission decides on season-wise. So I actually went and hunted down in Florida with my aunt that lived about an hour away from Orlando. So I went the day after Christmas and didn't come back until about the first week of January, whenever we had to come back after winter break for school. And it was actually really neat because I got to hunt coyotes, hogs, deer, and ducks. And I actually didn't get coyotes or hogs, but I did end up getting a bunch of ducks. So I got these guys over here. This one here is called a blue-winged teal.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
So these guys are actually super, super fast. So I believe I got 2 of them. And then this girl up here is actually called a hooded merganser. So they've got this hood on the top. And the males actually have a really bright white hood on them, whereas the females have that dark reddish brown color. And then got a couple other mallards and stuff like that. So I got those, but I actually ended up getting a buck on my birthday, which my birthday is the first week of January, so I never kill anything on my birthday. But so I was hunting with my uncle and ended up seeing this guy walk out. And for PA, he's not huge, but for Florida, they don't have to survive winter, so they're only like 100 pounds max. So this guy was huge.
Yeah, it's your birthday buck.
Oh yeah, this is my birthday buck. And they'd actually never got it on camera, and that was actually a really cool hunt. Because I had shot him and he was about 20 yards. So I pulled back and he ended up looking up at me, so I had to sit there and hold my bow back. So he stared at me and stared at me, and when he finally put his head back down to eat, I let down and drew back again. And ended up shooting him. He actually ended up running about a mile. His heart fell out in the middle of the blood trail.
Oh my
But
gosh.
he still ran just straight on adrenaline, and he went and bled on all of his scrapes, and we got him on trail cameras then.
Oh,
but otherwise, my uncle had never seen him before.
Wow. How exciting that must have been for you on your birthday especially.
Oh yeah, and my uncle sent me a picture a week later. They got some really heavy rains, and it flooded where we were actually hunting, and there was actually a 12-foot alligator underneath the stand where I shot it.
So what do you think you like to hunt the best?
I'd probably... It's kind of a tie between deer and elk. I like how challenging deer are to hunt, but at the same time, I like the interaction that you get with turkey. So actually hunting elk is kind of a combination between hunting deer and turkey. When I was a senior, my dad and I went out to Colorado, and we didn't end up actually getting an elk, but it's the concept of deer hunting where you have to put in the time and effort to go and chase the deer or the elk and follow them around and try and pattern them, whereas it's kind of like a turkey too, because you have to vocalize and interact with them to figure out where they are. So elk is probably a combination of the two, but it's kind of a tie between deer and turkey.
And do you prefer guns or bow and arrow?
I actually prefer bow and arrow.
Yeah.
It's actually it's more challenging, and you get closer to the animal, and it's kind of more rewarding to know that, yeah, anybody can sit on top of a hill and shoot 300 yards at a deer, but if you're sitting in a tree stand with a bow and have followed the same deers, put up a tree stand on this trail and know that, oh, there's deer coming through here, that it's really rewarding when they get so close, like 20 yards, and you actually have a connection to them and actually can see, oh, I know that, saw that deer in June when he was just starting to grow his antlers.
Yeah, it's more of a sport, more of a like actual strategy and sport aspect of it. And so then in high school too, they started a club that they hadn't had before.
So I actually started my freshman year. They had built a trap house, a Tom Jones Memorial down at the Fish and Game Club. I believe it was the year before my freshman year, so it would have been 2011, 2010, that they built these new trap houses. So in my freshman year, it was actually the first year that they actually started a high school team to actually compete with other schools around us. So trap is, there's a concrete house and then a half moon shape, and there's 5 stations around that half moon, and it throws out the orange clay pigeons. So you shoot out at them with a shotgun, and you shoot 5 times from each station around that half moon, so it's out of 25 shots. And so me and Ricky Grunstrom that I graduated with ended up going to nationals twice in my junior year and then my senior year. So both times I actually was high. This one would have been high female for our league. So I was averaging pretty high there. And then this one was high female for my senior year. And so I was averaging about 23, 24 out of 25 most of the time.
Wow.
So we actually shoot adult league too whenever we weren't shooting for the school in the springtime. We'd actually go out in the summer and the wintertime and shoot with the adults to kind of challenge ourselves. But I shot all 4 years of high school, so my first year was my freshman year, and that was the first year that they actually had a team. And then by the time I got to my senior year, it was actually the first year that they gave out letters. So Ricky Grunstrom and I both got the first letters for trap.
How exciting. I mean, I'm just amazed at the time you put into practicing and preparing for all of this, and how it is really a sport. Truly is. Like, you have to really be prepared and knowledgeable in order to get the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you do this with your family. So it's your dad, your little sister and little brother, and you that go out and hunt together. What does that mean to you as a family to do this?
It's really cool to get to go out and kind of bond with them. Like you said, like me, my dad, my little brother, and my little sister all go out together, and then even my uncles, my dad's brothers, and everybody go out. So we have a big group that goes out together, and if we see a deer in some spot, we'll actually put on deer drive, so all of us will kind of work together as like a family unit. And so it's really nice to go out and spend the time with them, whereas if we're in school or away at college or anything like that, we normally wouldn't get to spend time with our uncles or our cousins and stuff like that. So deer season's really a time where we get to go out and actually spend time together and actually hunt together and really bond.
Yeah, you really have. I mean, over the years, you spent hours and hours and hours together doing this. And then, you know, you're enjoying the meat together as a family, too, over dinner and lunch. And I think it's just such a special bond that you guys have through hunting.
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to say that you didn't get a chance to share?
I want to point out that since I don't live here anymore, my dad took down all of my deer mounts and put all his up.
Let's take a look at this. We'll scan the room here. He has quite a collection, I'd say. So these are all his up here.
Oh, yeah. This one's my dad's. And then this one is actually mine, so he did leave that one up. This one's my sister's. That's her very first buck.
Aw.
And then those are my 2 ducks. That's my sister's turkey down there. And then this one was actually one of my dad's turkeys that I actually put together for his birthday.
Oh, how nice. That's beautiful.
This is my dad's mule deer from Wyoming.
That's
huge.
Call
him Marty the mule deer. So that's actually my turkey back there. I put it up there and commandeered one of his spots. That's another one of my dad's. And that's actually from about a mile or 2 down the road. That's another one of my dad's from out in Wyoming. And then over here is one of my dad's. It was actually really neat, was that this antler actually fell off whenever he shot it.
Oh.
And so it's actually got an extra main, they call these the main beams. So it's actually got an extra main beam there, but whenever he shot it had both antlers, and then when he went to go get it, the one antler had actually fell off.
Oh, geez.
So he took pictures of it and held the antler there, and so when he got it mounted, he actually got the antler back on there.
And then, is this one yours, too?
This one is actually my little brother's.
Oh, we're going to give Tommy a shout out here.
Oh, yeah. So this one is by far the
That's
biggest
huge.
one in the house.
Wow.
And again, Dad took all of ours down because he gets jealous.
Well, he's here to admire them, and you guys aren't anymore.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's nice. I think this is such a cool family tradition. Is there anything else that we didn't get to talk about or that you didn't get to say yet?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, we're going to say goodbye to Zane. Look at you chilling.
Guys.
Or Zeke, yes. Bye. Taylor, thank you so much. This was really enlightening and just uplifting to hear how your family does this together. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Yeah, no problem. Thinking of me.
All right, everyone. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today. It was really cool to see how the family works together. The whole family works together, gets to spend time together bonding over hunting, and what a special bond they do have. And I loved hearing how they utilize the meat of the things that they do hunt throughout the entire year. I know there's many of you who are hunters out there and would love to hear your hunting stories. So please feel free to share those in the comments. Thanks again for tuning in today, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 54.